My name is Kyron. I am a recovering graphic artist.
My name is Karen. I am very tired and demotivated graphic artist.
Welcome to the Problem Child interview in ASMR.
Yes, that's not going to work because in my
I do apologize for breaking canon. Today, we're going to be pulling from the soon-to-be famous Problem Child and taking your questions and your problems that you have with creative people like us. We will not get offended. Slight. So, ladies first. I'll go for the first question.
Oh no, it's long. It can be detrimental to the process when creatives don't take ownership of the idea and only do what the client says or wants. Everyone in the design space should be seeking to be contributors. Even if I suggesting visuals, I expect designers to come up with their own ideas. How this client should look, and it should be a collaborative process rather than a dictatorship.
That doesn't mean I agree.
I'm just clapping.
So, what are your ASMR thoughts about that?
While I understand it never really ends up being that way, because I've had personal experiences where they would be like, I want to do this idea, and then you do the idea in your way, and they're like, no. So I actually want you to do it exactly like my competitor, but just in my colors. So do this over. It's kinda hard to know. It's kinda hard to know where you stand as a creative.
So,
My simple feedback for that is brand guidelines.
Yeah.
That would work really well.
You have to know what you want. You have to know what you want and be able to say what you want. And you have to know if the person that you're working with actually cares about your ideas. Because not everybody the same. It's whatever.
okay.
I guess it's my turn.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully Mom will see me this evening after reading this. You never know sometimes. Okay, so
Please. It's very long.
I have been freelancing for a while, and honestly, I prefer to work more with strangers and friends. She says just pick up whatever colors is fine. We can change it later. The informality of our friendships really makes me frustrated because mixed with business, it's disorganized and chaotic. I think you just need to keep the person free. Like, if they had to make roti for you now, boy. I mean, and you want help, I'll operate. And Karen is going to remind me that I always use food references.
I was about to say it. I forgot you do that.
You can't say make whatever, and then when it ends up being a Dalbury, you're like, why is there no potato? Friends, need creative briefs. I'll be throwing these on the ground.
I don't know, that's your show. You gotta tell me.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
It's easier to work with strangers. Because you could just be like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's kind of hard to do that with a brethren. Because you might push back and they're like, and then you have to see them the next day at the line. And all you just, so there should be proper guidelines in place so that people would know how to work properly. And you need to have that kind of conversation up front. Because it could get very messy very quickly.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Please.
I should probably take mine one time.
Okay. Creatives just need space to be creatives. I think sometimes I expect a creative to know what I want just after a few words. But sometimes when you give them the room, they come back with an even better result. Alright, thanks.
Okay. Balancing their need to be creative, or need for creative expression, with client needs for timely practical solutions to business needs. I understand that, at least for me, because I think for all of us creatives, we want the best.
Yeah.
And we could go up the ways, at least I would have. So it's always interesting working with clients who just want stuff plain, and simple, but they don't really say that up front. So I agree, and I think giving us a deadline would help. Oh, and by the way, if you want to stare at any of the viewers menacingly, you can stay over there. Right? Just. Alright. Okay, so jog in 3, 1, 2, 3.
One of these is very long. Take this one. That's the long one. It's 2 paper.
Yikes.
Yeah. Okay. I used to work with a freelancer to set up websites for my clients. I was totally dependent on him. But at some point, he got a new job and said he couldn't do it anymore. He didn't have the time. Valid. Good on them. I'm very proud of them. Get that money. People don't understand. Freelancing is fine. And I'm sorry that happened to you. But nothing could beat a consistent salary, I'm sorry. And as someone that's done both, I understand completely. But I think there should have been a transition where he found someone else to do it for them. But sympathy for them not to leave, you're not really gonna get that from me. Good on them.
Keep the truth out here, folks. Okay.
Miss Fair, no, miss this one first. And then that one.
Okay.
Also, where you find fake paper, it's not good enough for you. That's crazy.
So, this person said essentially a framework on clarity and focus is needed. Therefore, creatives have traits but take no action. Therefore, they don't get the results they want and lose confidence. Then the cycle repeats. The solution is understanding the process. They are likely to have excuses such as time, distractions, etc. But as you know, when you're focused, nothing starts anyway. So they need to overcome their limiting beliefs before they can really excel. Else they'll be consistently forcing themselves to do stuff leading to burnout.
What you thinking?
I'm not sure. I think it's valid, but I don't know if it applies to all creators.
No, it doesn't.
That's what you were thinking too.
Yeah.
It seems very specific. Yeah, I know a lot of creators that take action. I know that you always have to have clarity to be creative. Sometimes you have to embrace not having a clear understanding. You just had to draw. Yeah, that's how it starts, right? So, yeah, clarity, focus, get it up. But burnout is a thing. That is burnout due to not having clarity and focus. It's a question, is it? Because
Well, the way how I interpret it sound like they're dealing with a junior graphic designer that might still be trying to get their foot in. So it also comes on experience level of who you're dealing with. Some people you may need to give a little bit more guidance. And there's some people that they could just hit the ground running. But it may not be the case of everybody. It's not a one size fits all. So I think you need to know your designer a bit more to see where you could help them. This sounds very hyper-specific. This is not a general consensus of everyone. I think this person either is new or the guidelines was not clear. They didn't have patience to clarify better. Yeah.
that's really good feedback. I find us spot on. Thanks. How are we doing rock, paper, scissors for the last one?
Paper, scissors, shoot. Paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh, wait. We gotta check. 3, 2, 1. Okay. you work with freelancers, the client might struggle with unclear deliverables, unmet expectations, or difficulty accessing a freelancer's reliability. Unclear deliverables is your responsibility. Unmet expectations is also your responsibility. Difficult access to freelancers' reliability. Well, if you and reliable communication are boy, how could they be available? Because they got some other people they're working with now, boy. So, if this is your dream as a client, it's not for the designer to pick you up and transport you to where you want to go. You need to give them direction and they will drive the vehicle, right? If you don't know where you're going, you have to take responsibility for that. Because we're not magicians.
We're not magicians.
Yeah, I think every client needs to give a good creative brief. If your brief is bad, it will be bad, but the brief is your responsibility.
Yeah.
We don't know your business.
No.
If you make chocolate and thing, me know nothing about that. I can make aloo, but that doesn't mean I can make fried bean. You have a fried bean business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I meet you on Monday and you ask for a project at you Friday, I can learn all about fried bean between that time now, boy. So, yeah. Make it make sense.
It don't make sense most times. It really don't. Being a graphic designer is being a magician.
You wanna read this?
Climax.
And sometimes it's okay to let your staff be vexed. They need to get out of their system.
Let staff be vexed. That's the best kind of boss you could be. Just let me go through promotions.
Especially creative staff, you have to let it.
Yeah.
You have to let it happen.
Yeah. That happens so much times. At my last job, where it's like, I'm working, and then all of a sudden they're like, never mind, do this instead. And it's like, you need to let me just get up and walk. Because I just spent half the day doing this. So, let your staff be vexed. Please let your staff be vexed.
If you want us to do a seminar, every session seminar, we can bridge the gap between your creative staff and everybody else. Just saying. We confess the same. So, that's it for episode 1. Any comments, Karen?
Do a better graphic design. Do something else with your life, please. I've seen what it looks like out there. I'm not looking good, fam. If you like being happy, I would suggest a different field. Maybe take up accounting. Be a librarian. Run for president. I feel like those are less stressful jobs than being a graphic designer.
I think,
Yeah.
maybe Trinidad needs more legislation in creative fields so that companies can come up to scratch what is needed to work with freelancers. Okay,
I think you're just forgetting that people are insufferable. And that's kind of the whole job. Legislation can't help that. That comes from within. So, be a teacher, be a firefighter, be something else. But if you like sanity, I would suggest not being a graphic designer.
And therefore, no graphic designers will exist anymore.
Praise God.
And you all will have to make your own logo pic.
Yay! Have fun doing that.
Sorry, it was funny. I'm sorry to everybody. But got it. But it was funny. Okay. You need to pay this girl to give her advice because it was possible. You're going to pay her our salary plus gratuity plus the business operational expenses. I'm going to
This economy. It's very low, but okay. Thank you, friend.
we basically have to pay more for her now. Thank you for joining. I'm Karen Chambers, still recovering as a graphic artist.
And I'm Karen Guy. You're tired, annoyed, but open to work. Graphic designer.
Have a good life.
Joshua, we done. We done. I needed that discussion in stereo, my god.
Yeah.
It was real good though.